You leave a conversation. It was normal. There was no dispute, no argument, no rupture, but your mind starts replaying it instantly. Did I talk too much? Was I too direct? Did their tone shift? Should I have said that completely differently? The conversation was ordinary, but your body treated it like it was high stakes. Today we're talking about why some conversations can feel high stakes and what that tells you about your nervous system. Let's define what we're actually talking about. For some people, it may be classic social anxiety, which is all in the patterns as well, just like we're going to talk about. But for many, this is not the classic social anxiety, okay? This is you being articulate and competent, and you can lead conversations, but it's quieter because there's like this internal monitoring. You're tracking the room while you speak. You're adjusting your tone mid-sentence. And you're softening strong opinions before they land. You may call this emotional intelligence, and sometimes it is, right? And often it's vigilance. I know, take a breath, because there is a difference between attunement and hyper-attunement. Attunement is relational intelligence, and hyper-attunement is survival. Now, we've talked about this so many times. You already remember, you already recall that a lot of this survival was based on things that happened to you in your life before you were even realizing things were happening to you in your life, right? Before you were 3, before you were 8 years old, often even before your early teens. Most of these imprints were set already back then. So this is not about judging yourself. Once again, it's about collecting data. Survival will run automatically, and mindset advice will say, stop overthinking. Yeah, right? It's like when the doctor says, hey, you stop being stressed, right? That doesn't really work. It doesn't really give you the shift that you really want and what you really need, okay? It actually misses this layer completely because this is not happening from your thinking mind. This is happening from your subconscious mind. Overthinking is the mind trying to regulate what has already happened in your body. I want to say that again because I think it's important to acknowledge, okay? Overthinking is the mind trying to regulate what already happened in the body. Your body is responding and then you're thinking about it later. The body mobilizes first and then the mind comes in and narrates what's happening. This is subconscious sequencing. This is not you thinking about that I need to be careful here and then your body telling you, oh yeah, that's a good idea and tensing up, right? It's your body tensing up first and then your mind starting to narrate and starting to overthink, okay, what's the danger here? Oh, we've talked about this so many times, how the nervous system encodes these things, these rules, and our relationships and how we think they should be very, very early on, right? The question is if connection is required, you're reading moods, you're anticipating reactions, you are probably trying to prevent an escalation, trying to keep the peace. How many of us have done that? Raising my hand. Your body learned that conversation equals evaluation. Okay? Let's just acknowledge here that evaluation equals risk. So if you were the peacekeeper, if you were always watching, taking care of everybody, trying to anticipate their needs, that meant that you were operating from this strategy that if I can figure this out, if I can prevent any drama here by minding everything that's happening, then I'll be safe. So your system built a strategy. Monitor, 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 right? Stay ahead, plan, prepare. And this strategy may have preserved belonging. It may have kept you safe. It may have even earned you praise, right? For being so mature as a little person, or easygoing. You're just so easy. You just adapt. But it also trained your nervous system to mobilize in ordinary exchanges. And once encoded, those patterns run automatically. Once the rule is set, it runs automatically. These subconscious patterns do not update through time alone. Sometimes your body doesn't get the memo, right? They require a recalibration. So give yourself a breath. Let's just pause for a moment. I want you to think of a conversation that you recently replayed. Okay, think of that conversation. And I want you to ask yourself, was there actual danger? Or was there simply activation? Your body was activated. Your nervous system was activated. And then notice the difference. Your body responds to perceived relational threat long before your mind starts evaluating. That's imprint. That's subconscious imprint. Your subconscious mind always monitoring in the background. And this shows up very often in high-functioning women because these situations that we dealt with as kids and what we learned actually helped us. It helped us until it stopped helping us, right? It got us through a lot. So we're not mad. We're not mad or embarrassed or ashamed of the pattern. The pattern developed the way that it did. And still, we don't collapse. We adjust, right? We adapt. You rehearse before important conversations. You replay after. You scan for the shifts. You notice, oh, did they back down? Did they speed up? Did they have a reaction to the thing I said? How did it feel? And you're anticipating emotional responses. You may even feel proud of how thoughtful you are. And you are thoughtful. But if that monitoring feels compulsory, then you are in protection. I know, be loving with yourself, right? Because part of you wants to be like, oh, I could just think my way out of this, right? The next time, I'll just try better. I'll just try harder. The truth is, over time, that vigilance that's happening, probably in other areas of your life too, it creates this low-grade muscle tension, maybe some shallow breathing, maybe some tightness or heaviness on your chest, and subtle exhaustion after connection. Sometimes people think they're introverted or they're an introvert because they are exhausted after conversations, even good ones, safe ones, fun ones, because that's the cost. The drained feeling is the cost of that vigilance. It's not from the people, it's from the protection. So if you're feeling drained and feeling like you have to be on for a conversation, that is not from the people, right? It's from that internal protection, that internal vigilance. It's from protection, and it limits our depth. You can't be fully spontaneous while scanning, right? You can't be fully present while anticipating everyone's needs. And you will notice that hypervigilance, hyper-awareness reduces emotional freedom. Just quietly. You may know logically, well, they weren't upset, I handled that well, or that wasn't a really big deal. But logic does not reorganize that imprint. The The thinking cannot change the subconscious reaction. That is why we spend so much time trying to deal with our subconscious reactions by learning. Right? If I just learn this new way of thinking around it, then I can calm my body. But the body is reacting long before you can think about it. I know, so give yourself some love here, okay? Logic and understanding and insight do not reorganize the imprint. The subconscious mind does not react to reasoning, right? If you've ever witnessed anybody in a very strong state of anger or someone who's in the throes of a panic attack and you said, just focus, just relax. And you know that didn't help, probably escalated the situation, right? Because it's not reacting to reasoning. It's not reacting to, there's no danger here, logic. It is responding the way that it's needed to for protection, probably since you were a child. So give yourself some love. Always give yourself some love. If you see yourself at any of this, if this is resonating for you or you're connecting, you have someone in your life that has talked about this. This is not something to be judged. This is something to be acknowledged. And the best part is that it can change. The subconscious mind responds to experience. Recalibration happens when the nervous system experiences connection without a threat in a very strategic and structured way. So we can access the original encoding and introduce new relational experiences. This is why hypnosis is so powerful, because we can help the body understand, help the subconscious mind understand that conversation is safe. Expression does not equal rejection. Just expressing yourself doesn't mean that you're going to be rejected. And connection does not require management. If you've been in this loop where every connection feels like a lot of work, you might notice you're a little tired. So give yourself a breath, give yourself some love, not judgment, not judgment. Okay? When the body learns these new things, the pattern dissolves, and it won't be that you had to try to stop the replaying. You just simply don't. You don't need to anymore. That's the difference between mindset work and subconscious recalibration. One manages the symptoms and the other updates the architecture. Mindset manages the symptoms. The subconscious work updates the architecture, the structure that all of this is built on. And it's simpler than you think. And there's often grief here, right? So I want to acknowledge this because there can feel a sense of grief, like connection is never really relaxed. There's never really like a deep sense of fun or feeling like you can be off. There may be grief that you've carried this emotional management for years, for a really long time. And this is rarely named. We don't talk about what this is, right? Because competence will usually mask the cost of this. You'll seem brilliant because you have noticed all these things. You'll feel really thoughtful, like we talked about earlier. But when the vigilance dissolves, something really profound happens. I know. You can almost feel the awe feeling, right? Conversations feel lighter. Friendships feel easier. Silence, oh my gosh, silence can feel neutral. What a gift, right? You stop measuring your words against imagined consequences. This is regulated connection. not louder, just at ease. And this does not make the body less intelligent, right? It does not take away your insights. It just becomes less guarded. Your body with that revved up feeling or heavy feeling or tight feeling, that preparing for threat feeling no longer exists. So then you are thinking clearly. You're not in this preparation state for threats that no longer exist. And when this feeling of vigilance recalibrates, you speak clearly, you speak cleanly, you speak from your heart, you leave conversations and you move on and you feel settled in connection. This is what happens with so many women that I work with. We're dealing with releasing this tension they've carried since they were little, that they actually feel closer to their partners. They feel closer to their friends. They feel closer to their kids. They feel closer to themselves because this protection is not interrupting the connection anymore. I know, doesn't that sound just yummy? It is really special because you get to deepen your connection with yourself and others. And then your nervous system expands its capacity as well. It's not performance anymore. It's connection. If this resonated with you, you know this is not about just changing the way that you think. It's about updating the patterns that run automatically. And I want you to notice where your body prepares. Just kind of pay attention after you listen to this episode. And that awareness is the first doorway, right? Somewhere around this video, you will find a place to connect with me if you want to have a private conversation about working together more deeply to release this inner protection and let your spirit and your vision and your highest self guide. All right, you moved a lot of energy today. Drink your water. Take really good care of yourself. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.